Hey guys, Regal Reviews here. It is White Rice Wednesday, which means time for my Survivor recap. So, wow, that was probably one of the best tribal councils I have seen in a while. But I'm getting too far ahead of myself here. So last week, the Rob father got voted off. So Adam's dealing with the repercussions of that. He feels like Sarah, Sophie, and Ben are getting closer, and he's kind of on the outs. I could definitely see him feeling that way. I mean, Adam, in a way, has kind of always been on the outs this season. So I think a little bit of it is paranoia, but at the same time, I mean, I give Adam credit for being very self-aware. He knows that, obviously, Sarah and Sophie are like this. Ben seems to be, in my opinion, I mean, obviously he won his season, so he did something right. I wasn't a fan of his gameplay. I'm more of a fan of Ben's gameplay this season, and he seems to be wanting to make and build those relationships. So he knows how Adam was on his tribe, and he's perceiving it as Adam's, a snake. Did he say that in this episode? No, but that's maybe the feelings that are in the back of his head. So right away, about 10 minutes in, goes right to an immunity challenge. So right away, I know something's big's going to happen. So what happens is it's going to be a double elimination. And I wasn't sure exactly what they're going to do at first, because I remember in Game Changers, 2 tribes went to tribal council, but they had one person voted off. I believe that's how it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. But only the first tribe will apparently win peanut butter and jelly and be safe. And the other 2 will each vote somebody off. So there'll be 2 people voted off tonight. So they had to go on this boat, and somebody had to get these rice bags, and they had to put them over the boat. And then they had to get over this. One person, you would think, would have to go over the other side, because they had to get the rice bag through this little small hole. So it took a lot of maneuvering. And then it had that classic maze, which I love to watch. I'm sure all the Survivor fans love that. When you have to hold it with 2 hands and maneuver it, that looks so intense and so difficult to do. And Sophie was a rock star on that, and she ended up winning it for green, setting Soleil and Dakota tribal. Now, with Soleil, the talk is maybe to get rid of Parvati, because obviously she's a threat. She's sneaky. I mean, Parvati lost one of her biggest alliance member last week, so she's feeling on the bottom. So Parvati's willing to do anything to make sure she stays in the game. So because her and Michelle are on the bottom, they have to figure out where's the crack. And they suggest maybe voting Wendell off. And Michelle and Wendell seem to have this history. I don't know what went on between them. That's their business. But just watching it, you could cut the tension with a knife. It seems like, they did have a talk at one point to discuss what they should do. And Wendell's basically like, give me a name. And Michelle offered at one point to put his name down, but it wouldn't be him being sent home. So that's kind of sending red flags to me. So then she claimed that Wendell didn't want to side with her to get Parvati off. Like, I don't know. It was kind of, I probably got that part wrong. But I don't know. They just seem to be with each other. So Wendell tries to approach Parvati, which I think is a stupid move. I mean, I love Wendell, but why in the world did you tell Parvati? He didn't say the plan, but he suggested in exchange for a fire token, he'll vote any way she wants to. And it just seemed like neither one of them are going to budge. And Wendell's name seems to be thrown out there because they think that he's like the new Boston Rob and is calling the shots out there. So I feel bad for Yule because he had a pretty good alliance there going, but it seemed to have blown up at this point. So on Dakal, the question is, it could basically be anybody. Tony made a point last a week, and I think the week before, about having a bigger threats stick together. And for his gameplay, yeah, I do think that they should stick together and have shields around. And one would think the easy vote would be to get Jeremy or Denise off because they are on the bottom. Stay Dakal strong, get one of them off. The thing is, unknowing to them, Jeremy has the advantage where he gets to get up at tribal council and he's safe, but he doesn't have a vote. Denise also has an idol, so those two can be safe, and it would come down to Sandra, Kim, and Tony. And I lost it when they couldn't find Tony, and here Tony did what he couldn't do in Game Changers and made the spy bunker. Oh my god. I was like, yes, oh my god. And it actually worked. I mean, he came out of it at the wrong time. He didn't get caught, but I'm like, I can't believe he made a spy shack and a spy bunker. Like, Tony is just freaking awesome. So Sandra makes an interesting suggestion. She is willing to give up her immunity idol that can only be used. This is the last time she can use this specific idol in exchange for some of Denise's fire tokens. So Denise then has 2 idols, so she's in a really good spot right now. The thing was, Sandra said that they're all going to vote for Denise. I mean, I respect the fact that Sandra's, upfront about everything. And Denise says she gets to choose who she wants to go home. And I'm thinking, why don't you just blindside Sandra? That seems like a perfect solution. I mean, you're obviously close with Jeremy, and I feel like can make things happen. And I would get one of the threats gone. So at the tribal council, it seemed, Parvati and Wendell were going at it. Basically, that Wendell said he was trying to give, and Parvati wasn't really budging. And it's kind of the same thing at tribal. Like, Wendell still said that offer he made earlier was on the table, but Parvati wouldn't give a name, so they're both kind of, they both won't budge. And shockingly enough, it ended up being Parvati that gets sent home, and I'm like, wow, like, I did not expect that. When I saw the votes come in, I'm like, oh, it could be Parvati, and I'm like, what, they actually got Parvati off? So I think that was a good move on their part to get rid of Parvati, because between the two of them, Parvati's a bigger threat than Wendell. So at the Red Tribe's Tribal Council, I'm waiting all Tribal Council for for him to play his advantage. And they're talking about what I mentioned earlier, how they could easily say, oh, it's either going to be Denise or Jeremy, and that was the names that were being thrown out there. But it's not, as Tony pointed out, it's not always so easy as being on the minority anymore. It's actually not such a bad thing. I mean, sometimes they do just vote you out just because it's an easier vote. But as long as you're willing to put the work in, you can actually stay in the game and actually break up a bigger alliance. So Jeremy did not use his advantage. However, Denise used the idol on herself, and then she pulls out another idol, and I'm like, oh my freaking god, who's she going to play it on? Because it didn't make sense to me, because she would be the one to pick who would go home. So maybe I thought, oh, would she choose Jeremy and play, because she ended up playing her idol on Jeremy. So I'm like, would she vote for Jeremy and then becomes null and void, and it's a tie between Jeremy and Denise? That would be interesting, because then they'd have no votes. So I'm wondering what would happen there. probably Denise and Jeremy wouldn't vote. I don't know. That's actually very interesting if that actually happened. But Denise actually voted Sandra out, and major props to Denise. That is how you play the game of Survivor. Like, the second that Sandra made that offer, I was like, oh, Denise, that would be so epic if you used that idol to get her out. So, yeah, it seems like I don't think next week is going to be the merge episode. I think it's going to be the following week. It seems like Wendell and Michelle are still going to be... There's still going to be a lot of tension there and bickering, and Jeremy's starting to see that Tony's a bigger threat. I mean, well, of course Tony's a bigger threat. He's out there building spy bunkers, for Christ's sake. So I hope you guys enjoyed my recap, and I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's Survivor. If you want to check out Survivor, it is on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. on CBS. Till next time, stay regal.